KFAN and the Minnesota Vikings will be live from Shields in Eden Prairie tomorrow for our annual Toys for Tots broadcast presented by Unreal. We'll be collecting donations for Toys for Tots, 5:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. and need your help. You'll have the chance to enter to win great Vikings prizes, all while seeing your favorite shows live. Be sure to join us at Shields in Eden Prairie, benefiting Toys for Tots. More at KFAN.com. Keyword toys.
Ryan in Michigan did remind me that the Jones fumble was actually a missed field goal. Because if you'll remember, Jones was on the sideline with a towel over his head thinking, I've just blown it. And then I think the Cardinals ended up missing a field goal on that one. So I think that is absolutely correct. Matter of fact, several other people said the same thing. Field goal kicker missed the field goal after the Jones fumble. Several people have texted me on the Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line. Head coach of the soon-to-be big game world champion Minnesota Vikings will join us shortly with his day after the game weekly news conference. But right now, it's time for 534.
Time now for 5 questions. Well, actually 3, but 5 sounds like more than 4. Question number 1. NFL No Huddle.
Comment, are you happy or disappointed with the Lions' 23-20 win over the Bears on Thanksgiving?
Well, you're always, you know what, Tennessee, you never look a gift horse in the mouth. You're always delighted to win. They were outplayed in the second half. Their defense has been decimated by injuries. We've signed in the last couple of days, I think 2 or 3 guys off other teams' practice squads. 2 of them are former Pro Bowlers. Only problem was they were Pro Bowlers back in the 1800s.
Sounds like a Twins strategy.
It's very Twins-like. That's exactly that's what I said to somebody today when I was talking to him about it. It's very Twins-like. So
Zadarius was flashing a little bit on Thanksgiving. He flashed
a little bit. They did some things in the first half, and I said what killed them is they were about to put the Bears away in the first half. They're up 16-0. Sonic is about to score. He's at the Bears 5. Ball gets punched out, recovered by the Bears. Bears came back. Lions, did they score any? I don't think they scored any points in the second half. Or did they score 1?
That makes sense. Well, yeah. Didn't they have 16 and a half?
Yeah, so they scored once. But the Bears.
But even through the first half, they should have had more than 16.
They should have.
Yeah.
And the Bears, we can talk about the blunder, too. Eberflus got eviscerated and fired because of the botched time management at the end of the game. They had 1 timeout left. They're in Detroit territory. They run a play, I think. What's your quarterback's kid's name again?
Caleb Williams.
Caleb Williams gets sacked. And they decide to call another play instead of using their timeout. Most observers, most fans, feel they should have called a timeout. I don't think you call the timeout. You save the timeout, but you got to get the play
get the play faster, yeah.
And is that partly on the coach? Yeah, but it's also on the kid,
I think it's more on the quarterback.
Yeah, well, that's what I thought, too. That's what I thought, too. And I was getting, again, obliterated by people doing the old, no, nice try comment. I know you just like trying to get people going and be different, but you're wrong this time. It's like the coach is supposed to be there for the inexperienced kid. What? No, the kid should know.
He's a professional football player.
A football player. And once the clock got down to a certain point, well, they couldn't use the timeout then because if they use the timeout, they run the next play.
They can't go in bounds anymore.
They can't go in bounds. And plus, here's the other thing. That this is where the esoteric approach. This was the lesson I gave on Twitter afterwards, Tennessee. If you call the timeout there, then complete a pass and have to rush in, you clock it, but then the clock starts again once they place the ball. You're going to have to rush in that field goal unit, right? With, who knows?
Oh, you'd have to go clock it. You'd have to clock it.
Yeah, but if
spike the ball.
But if you clock it, once they place the ball, doesn't the clock start again?
No, you run up to the ball and then spike it, and that'll stop the clock.
Right. But then, so you get
But you got to have the amount of time to do that.
But you get a free timeout that way then?
No, if they would have called their timeout originally, they would have still had 30-some seconds left.
Right.
And then if they have a pass that goes in bounds, they need to complete it, have the ref set it down, run up to it, you spike it, and that's just an incomplete pass. Now you have your 30, 40 seconds on the play. You have your 40 seconds on the play clock.
I don't want to rush.
I'm still with you, though.
Yeah, I don't want to rush that kid out.
That was on the quarterback. The quarterback took way too much time.
And I don't want to rush that field goal unit's not very dependable anyway. So, anyway, yeah, it's disappointing. I think the Lions, again, who knows? But the injuries, and you know what? That's not an excuse. That's just the facts. If you can't stay healthy, and the Vikings have how many injuries on defense? Now Gilmore went out.
Yep.
And we don't know how serious that is. They lost Blackman early in the year. I think their defense has stayed relatively healthy. Now, Cashman missed some games, but he's back. Right now, I think most of the starters that started the season for the Vikings on defense are there. The Lions, they've lost, I think, 7 starters. They're in some trouble, and that bodes well for the Purple. I guess the Lions...
we did lose Darisaw, which is a major part of the
that's
offense.
That's true. I think the Lions could be in some trouble. I think it could come down to the Vikings and the Packers now. Is what
really?
Yeah, well, the Lions got to play Buffalo. They got to play Green Bay Thursday, and they get them at home. But I'm telling you, their defense is a mess, man. They've played well this year, but they're in bad shape.
NFL No Huddle.
Common, which team delivered more of a statement win? Eagles' 24-19 win at Baltimore or Buffalo's 35-10 victory over San Francisco at home in the snow?
Philadelphia. San Francisco, you were right. I thought they might still hang around and get things together. We talked about this a couple weeks ago.
They're done.
And now with McCaffrey out there for certain.
They're done.
But yeah. Well, no, I know, but I mean, a couple of weeks ago, I thought they still had a chance. You did not think so. So I guess you're answering my question. They are done, so that's not a statement game. You're playing a team that doesn't have half their starters or not a very good team. Philadelphia was playing one of the best teams in pro football, a team that had won, 7-8 in a row? So I think that's more of a statement game for Philadelphia. Would you agree?
Baltimore had not won 7-8 in a row, but I still think I consider Baltimore top 3 contender in the AFC.
Correct.
And it's Kansas City, Baltimore, and Buffalo, which was obvious before the season, I guess, but I still think Baltimore could be sneaky in the playoffs.
I do too, but I think it was more of a statement win for Philadelphia.
Question number 2. It's time now for the lowdown in Dinky Town.
The Gophers football team finished their regular season with a 24-7 win at Wisconsin on Friday. They finished the season 7-5 overall, 5-4 in the Big Ten. Common, how would you evaluate the Gophers football season?
Coach took a step forward. Chip Scoggins wrote about it. Esteemed columnist, Fish Wrap Factory West Side. We text and talk more than most people know. In his piece, and I don't know if this was a recent revelation by, just this past Saturday or Friday after the game, or if PJ had said this previously during the season, he knew he had to change. He couldn't just keep running the ball. They knew they needed to start throwing the ball more. The reason they played as well as they did and stayed in almost every game, even against ranked opponents, and beat Wisconsin, because their passing game was better. Brosmer, that was a great acquisition for that club. But now what they do to fill that spot after this season, because Brosmer's done as a collegiate player, but beating Wisconsin's a nice win. Now again, it's 7-5. It ain't 10-0 or 11-0 or 12-0, whatever Oregon is, and it's not even Ohio State. That was just an awful loss for Ohio State. Just awful. I watched that entire game as well. But yeah, the Gophers, and they were up 21-7, and Wisconsin was relatively deep, I think, in Minnesota territory. And then the Gophers stood tall and ended up winning 24-7. Good season. I do think we talked about this. This team was more enjoyable to me aesthetically to watch than any other Gopher team under Fleck. Because he was never, we did have the year when they had the Bateman, and who was the other guy that went?
Tyler Johnson.
Tyler Johnson. 2 guys that went to the NFL. And the quarterback at the time,
Tanner Morgan.
Tanner Morgan was pretty good. When you have those kinds of guys to throw to, it helps. And so they were interesting then, but not like they are now. So, it's a nice win to get the axe. But now Wisconsin's not very good. That's not a very good football. Though they played Oregon tough, was it the week before or 2 weeks before? When they lost to Oregon in a close game, they're playing the number 1 team in the country. So Yeah,
I don't care how good or bad Wisconsin is. 17-point win at Madison.
Correct.
From what we've seen over the years with this rivalry, we'll be very happy with.
I'm with you.
And that's it for today's edition of 5 Questions. Well, actually 3 questions, but 5 sounds like more than 4.
Hey, let's do this. Let's take a break. Come back when we do. The head coach of the soon-to-be big game world champion Minnesota Vikings should be addressing the media for his weekly day after the game news conference. That's next here on The Fan.
Want to chime in on what's happening with your favorite KFAN program? Make your voice heard on the Bradshaw and Bryan text line. Let us know what you have to say by texting your message to 64686. That's 64686. Standard message and data rates apply.
Couple 13-14 pass, Common Man program. I'm Common. Keys 10 and B. We're awaiting the arrival of the head coach of the soon-to-be big game world champion Minnesota Vikings, Kevin O'Connell. And that we'll have that for you in its entirety. Should be starting here shortly. Tell me, controversial. I think we've talked about this the past few weeks. By the way, can I just clear the air of something here? I keep getting, and I know people just try to get me going, but I think it's worth addressing because I think there are people that actually believe this. They're saying, well, you need to offer up an apology to Sam Darnold. Me?
Huh?
The day the Vikings announced they had signed Sam Darnold, the first thing I said is, why can't Sam Darnold, remember when everybody was saying, well, the best place for a rookie quarterback to land is Minnesota. Bookend left tackles, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson. You have a running back, Aaron Jones, and you have the brightest, youngest play caller in the history of the National Football League. And I said, well, if that's the case for a rookie quarterback, why wouldn't the same be for Sam Darnold?
You were the only one supporting it while everyone else is ripping it. Oh, what are we going to do? Is such a downgrade from Kirk Cousins.
That's exactly right. That's exactly
You were
right.
the most positive about it.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Well, that's why people want to say, like, I'm supposed to apologize to Darnold. Now, I wasn't sure he could do it.
I'm sure he's going back to a couple weeks ago when he had the game against Jacksonville. You and I were critical about the way he played.
Oh, maybe
we're just being objective about the game he played there wasn't good.
No. Now, when you have a couple of turnovers and you only are able to muster 4 field goals, that he didn't play as well. And he had those 2 poor games in a row. And what was best was at KOC, you do have to give him credit. He said it was either right after the, they have to do the press conference 20 minutes after. There's a cooling off period, then they have to meet the media immediately following the game, 20 minutes after the conclusion or 30 minutes, whatever it is. Then they do their Wednesday one, and then they do another one later in the week. And during one of those where he said, I've got to get Sam to take better, I'm paraphrasing, but he's got to take better care of the football. And the biggest thing was, remember, Tenneby, you and I both said, don't force the ball into Jefferson. He had 3 interceptions in one game. Was it 3 in a game? And it was all because in each one of those passes was intended for Justin Jefferson. And what's happened since then? Even yesterday, he wasn't able to go to Jefferson early. It was in the second half. I think he may have hit him once or twice in the first half. But again, it was another one of those games where Justin Jefferson was more of a decoy. Every team has decided we're not going to let Justin Jefferson beat us. We're going to make Sam Darnold have to throw to Addison, to Speedy, to Hawkinson, to Johnny Munt. But we're not going to let him just chuck the ball over and over and over again to Justin Jefferson, and that's exactly what he did. He stopped trying to force the issue. Now yesterday he threw several dimes into into tight windows. That's what you're supposed to do if you're a big-time quarterback. And there is is it called Spot Track? Spot Rack? Spotrack? What is Spotrack? What is it? It's a website of some sort. I'm not familiar with it.
Is it like a contract salary cap?
I think that's exactly what it is, because the Scarf, Eric Escala, former legendary newsman. Well, he's legendary former newsman. He's not formerly legendary. He still is legendary former newsman at WCCO. Also now does Almanac on Channel 2. He had sent me an email with a tweet that said, hashtag Vikings quarterback Sam Darnold's market value currently sits at $32.4 million, according to, what did you call it again?
Spotrack?
Spotrack. Darnold is set to be an unrestricted free agent this offseason. I don't remember your opinion on this, Teneby. I'm of the opinion nothing's off the table. I know that everybody thinks, well, J.J. McCarthy, he was the guy we drafted, 10th overall, moved up one spot. There's KOC.
Get you some injury updates in a sec, but proud of our team. Different kind of resiliency and kind of determination, especially on the day with how it went. And I thought the Cardinals played a really good football game, especially offensively and defensively. We had to overcome some things and make some in-game adjustments that I thought were pretty vital, not only schematically, but just how we had to play the game to find a way to win it. And I want to highlight Sam played fantastic and really has now for the better part of, really since we left Jacksonville, with a lot of things that we thought we could, show some improvement on and get back to being who Sam's been for us. Most of the year he's played really good football. I'm really proud of him. But just his journey over these last 2-3 weeks, putting in a lot of hard work and continuing to, kind of grow throughout his in-season journey this year has been really cool to watch. Heck of a challenge with Atlanta coming in. You got a ton of respect for Raheem. Very few coaches I respect as much as Raheem Morris, and got a chance to coach with him, get to know him and love the person and a dynamic leader. And I know he's going to have his football team ready to go. Kirk and all those weapons that we've got to try to defend on offense is going to be a challenge. And I think they've got some really good players on the defensive side. So another week, a new challenge, and a well-coached team that's going to come in here and play well. So we've got to continue to find ways to improve, and there's plenty of things off of yesterday that we all can do better. But it's good to have those conversations here on December 2nd with our 10th win under our belt, and a lot to kind of make sure we're continuing to hunt and chase here moving forward. Gilly did get a low-grade kind of hamstring that caused him to not return. Still getting some evaluations on what that looks like. I do not believe it is a longer-term injury, and I'm not quite ready to rule him out for this week. Want to see how he kind of feels as we work through it. But I did think Fabian played really well. Calm, veteran presence that came into the game, played solid. And we'll go from there. Will Reichert and Andrew DePaula will both have their windows opened up. Get them some work together. Not only Will getting swings, but Depot and Ryan and Will working back together again and see where those guys are at as we move forward through the week. But want to get those guys back around the team practicing, and then Josh Oliver expecting to play this week and think he'll have a somewhat normal practice week, and we'll get J.O. ready to roll, and that'll be a huge lift to get him back offensively.
Is wearing women's underwear part of your turnout?
Roster moves that Gilmore can't go, or would you guys roll with who you have?
I think we'll kind of cross that bridge as we go here, knowing that we've got Nudie on the practice squad. I should say Dwight McLaughlin. But we've got him at any point in time that we have a lot of confidence in, not only in the present, but I think he's going to be a heck of a player moving into the future. And so we'll see if it's him or if there's possibly another name or a player out there that we think gives us a chance to possibly come in here and have a chance to have an impact. But I don't know at this time if it's going to be a roster spot worthy. I don't believe it's going to be a roster spot kind of conversation where the short-term IR would be a conversation. So more than likely we'll work through that here in the next couple days.
Kevin, was lining up Justin in the backfield part of the plan going in, or was that something you got to over the course of the game?
Well, we had some different variations with him either being in the backfield, motioning there, motioning out, just as some kind of things that we have at our disposal, and depending on kind of how the game materializes from a standpoint of soft zone, maybe we can get him some easy touches and a good chance to kind of get a drive starter feel, especially on that last drive, to know we could get off to a good start in that drive, get him a touch, and then get on the ball from there. I thought the defense being able to keep them out of the end zone on that last drive, and us knowing that we had to go get a touchdown there allowed us to have kind of a 4-down mentality, which allowed us to be aggressive and kind of sequence up some calls. And total credit to Justin, Sam. I thought Jordan made some huge plays. The pockets were really good. Offense came together when we needed it to try to win the game.
Kevin, when you teach quarterbacks, you work with them, and the value of not throwing interception versus making big plays.
Yeah.
What's that? How do you teach somebody? Sam obviously has a bad day when he throws the picks against Jacksonville yesterday. He ate it a couple times on sacks and stuff.
Yeah.
How do you teach that?
Yeah, not a ton different. A little bit more pressure from the Cardinals, but a lot of split safety, a lot of trying to overlap bodies from different areas to get in windows, where they thought Justin would be, especially for some of his kind of on the move routes. We were able to kind of thread the needle on some static type routes where Justin did a great job coming back to some footballs in the intermediate area. But I thought that was a great example, and I'm glad you asked. Just the growth from a few weeks back to yesterday, where we find a way not to turn that ball over in some times where maybe there were some shots there. We might have had a chance on Justin on a dagger cut in the first half. We might have had a chance on a couple other plays, but just the overall poise, decision making. I thought Sam was incredibly strong with the football a couple times there, 2 hands on it, kind of getting out from some late conflict in the pocket and at least getting us 2 to 3 yards, 4 yards on a scramble, getting us back to the line of scrimmage, giving us an op to not go backwards or turn the football over. I thought he managed it really well on a day where it was tough. And we had a couple protection kind of missed assignments for some free runners. They got us on another one, with a good scheme. And we had to kind of overcome it with a little bit different mentality there in the second half to ensure we could move it and get points.
I'm sure you've played enough close games in the last couple of years. I'm just curious, what does a close game require from you as a coach and from Sam as a quarterback to make the difference in those moments?
Yeah, I don't think any of them are, really created equally. I mean, sometimes I can think back to my mindset versus Jacksonville. It was a close game. We hadn't scored a touchdown, and I, made a decision to try to win the game a certain way. And yesterday was clearly different. Down 13 points late in the third quarter. Just deciding that it was time to go try to kind of hit the gas and go get that game and allow our guys to have a few more volume opportunities. And you do that by just calling more things, more pass concepts, different variations. But I think we ended up, including the kneel down, I think maybe we ended up with 53 plays. So, and, a good chunk of those coming, in that last sequence of drives there, touchdown, field goal, touchdown, where we kind of had to go get the game. That really wasn't one where the Cardinals, because they were very well coached with a good plan, that was not going to be one we were going to be able to tiptoe into trying to find a way to win. And there's incredible growth opportunities in those moments. There's learning opportunities of how we got in that situation in the game. But either way, I'm going to always try to make the best decision that I think gives us a chance to win those games. That's kind of been my philosophy since we've got here, and ultimately have the team prepared for the situational aspects of what it's going to take to win the game in those close games. And credit to our players. I can't tell you how many times I look back on these close games, and I think my poise and comfort in those situations is a product of the work put in and also my confidence level in the team.
People talk a lot about the close games and say a team's strength or a team's legitimacy is based on victory and loss and that kind of stuff. How do you look at that when there's more close games than ever in the league?
Well, I do look at it like, the margin of victory tells some sort of story on your team. But I do know that, you stack a whole bunch of one-score wins together and you don't have any lopsided losses, your margin of victory is going to be at a good number for the season. And that means you've played somewhat consistent. I think there's going to be ebbs and flows and trying to overcome different unique things that come up from an injury standpoint. I do think this, no matter how much people see logos and teams and who's who and historically what they've been, none of that matters. And it's a matchup league. It's how your 11 are going to play against that particular 11 that day. What's the schemes? Who wins a sequence of downs that maybe shrinks the game or only gives you 50 plays, or maybe you get 82 plays and you end up winning a different way. But nonetheless, it's about having more points than the opponent when it's over. And then the really good teams that win close games continuously learn from those victories, and they don't just come in today and say we're 10-2. Congratulations to everybody. Like, I'm looking at it like we're 10-2 with our best football still out in front of us. And my goal from really, the beginning of the offseason last year was to try to get to a place where when we did get to December, we were playing, with a chance to, be peaking and still improving. And there's certainly an opportunity for our team to do that.
Have you paid attention to Kirk's journey this year and the way he's played and the ups and downs there? And what have you thought of what you've seen?
Yeah, I think I got a chance to watch him. I can't remember if it was Thursday night or Sunday or Monday. I just remember getting to watch him in Philly when he went and got that win, and looked like the guy that had won a lot of close games coming from behind with us. But outside of that, this will be really my first time diving in and getting to see some of the tape of what Zach's doing on offense. And I just know they've got a lot of really good players. I think Bijan is a really, really good running back. I think between the receivers and Pitts, and I think they do a good job up front with a play style, kind of, theoretically a wide zone kind of play style where they're running off the ball and still being physical. And then Zach is, I've worked, for 2 years, I worked really closely with Zach every single day. One of the smarter guys I've been around in this league, has an unbelievable way about him as a former quarterback that I always respected. So I just know that it's going to be a challenge. Kirk's going to come in here and play well and lead that offense, and we've got to find a way to play really good defense and try to limit their ops, especially to be explosive, to possess the football, and try to play complementary to our defense with how we play on offense.
Kevin, Aaron Jones was talking about how much it meant to him that you came to him in mid-game and said, hey, we're going back to you after you.
Yeah.
That immediate confirmation, and that he kind of wanted to go back because of that in part. How important with your communication style is to do that with a guy that's been around the block like that?
Yeah, I believe it. I said it a few weeks back. I'm not having those conversations in those moments out of anything other than it's, what I'm authentically feeling, and I want the player to know. So if it does allow him to go play with a quieted mind and have confidence to go make that last play, great. But either way, if I'm going to tell him great job, as I have a lot of this year when he's played great for us for most of the year, I better be there to tell him that my confidence level is not lacking in any way, shape, or form when maybe it doesn't go our way. I just think that that's how leaders should operate, and if you've got true belief and authentic belief, with all the time we've spent together preparing to try to win these football games, just because it doesn't go our way, it doesn't mean we get to stomp our feet and, be different in those moments, because I think that would be something that our players would recognize. And it's his birthday, by the way, today. Met with him a little bit ago to wish him a happy birthday. And he's been a huge part of our team, both in this building, on the field. A couple tough plays there, but when we had to have it, Aaron Jones made the play. Simple as that.
Going back to the film, that throw Sam made to Jordan on the sideline and then the one to Justin between two defenders, what impressed you most about those two throws and some of what he did down the stretch?
Yeah, kind of the one to Jordan up and over was the rare kind of play repeat. I had actually called it early on in the game. It's not breaking news, but I have not been a habitual play repeater during my time as a play caller, but I felt like we had kind of, possibly, maybe forced some adjustments on how they were maybe defending the flat area. So I wanted to see if we could get that up and over what would now be an on-the-ball kind of dropping linebacker instead of a cloud corner. And Sam, the way he turned that thing loose and perfect up and down trajectory to it. I thought it was a huge throw, and the maybe the most critical throw all game was that kind of deep curl to Justin where he kind of thread the needle like you talked about, because that immediately went from a backed up situation where, some people may be looking at how do I force a manageable third down by playing safe. He felt the void, his back foot hit, and he turned it loose. And that kind of goes back to a previous question where it's, if it's built around principles of attacking voids and vacancies and knowing my arm talent to be able to turn the ball loose with great timing and some anticipation, by all means, if there's some learning ops that come from that, so be it. But it's the decisions where in your mind it did not feel clean. It did not feel the way that it should at the top of your drop. And that split-second decision, which for the most part I thought he did a phenomenal job handling those moments all day. There might have been one where we tried a ball down the middle to Speedy in the high red where just wasn't a great presentation, wasn't a great call by me, and kind of felt that moment where that ball just kind of came up. And that'll be something we talk about today, just because, don't allow me giving you a bad play there, or, us anticipating more pressure on that look and only having 3 eligibles out. Don't allow me to force you to, step outside the confines of playing really good quarterback play, because I certainly don't want to be the reason why that happens.
Time for 2 more questions, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin.
On Sam's 12-yard scramble, after the game, Justin had joked about how he would rather Sam throw the ball, but he'll always block for him, if he does scramble.
Yeah.
But what does that say about Justin, just kind of as a leader, that he, is the top receiver and is willing to block like that to make sure Sam gets?
Yeah, I actually have to, full disclosure, I saw Sam leaving the pocket, and I was like, go. I started screaming to Justin to go get open, and then Sam takes off, and Justin, it was one of those, get open, no block, thank you, kind of all in the moment right there. And you're just so thankful that the players don't actually listen to you in those moments sometimes. But he had a huge block in the run game against Chicago where, he had drawn 2 or 3 explosive penalties, don't go in the stat sheet, and he'd obviously, made some plays to kind of trigger a lot of that momentum yesterday. But then to make that play and ensure that Sam gets the first down right there, I think it just speaks to where Justin's at, in his journey, and another 1,000-yard receiving year, a lot of football out in front of him, and just how he's turning into a complete player. He's always really been one, and he's so competitive, but just the poise in which he operates on game day is something that I value and tremendously respect.
Jordan does you watch as you were getting ready to sign Sam. You watched most, if not all, of his previous stuff. I'm just curious, as you've watched these last 3 games, has he ever played better?
I know he had some good stretches, but I think this is when you're talking about when you add in the situation of these games too, losing an 11-point lead on the road in the division, going to overtime and going 6-6 and a 90-yard drive for whatever it took to give Park a chance. Yesterday was, I don't know how many times he's had a game in his career where he's been down 10 plus or 13 points and been able to manifest that kind of scoring. So I did not know that, but it just felt like what Sam feels like in that moment is he feels incredibly prepared, and then he feels confidence not only in the guys he's throwing to, the guys up front, but in what I feel is almost a surgical level of doing my job and not trying to do too much, but also knowing that my job might be to try to put a ball, in a tight window here and there. And the confidence level of a lot of throws over the previous 11 games leads him into that moment with a split-second decision. And then let's just be honest, how many throws can we all chat amongst ourselves right now and say that Sam's flat out just missed this year? There's just not a lot of them. He's thrown the ball at an incredibly high level, accuracy, perfect amount of pace, layering the ball, pushing it downfield when we try to. And then, I think over these last, there were some real getting back to 3 or 4 or 5 in a progression against Tennessee on some weighty downs, some check downs on some early downs where Cam Akers gets 8 yards. And then, yesterday there was a couple times where check downs covered. We tried to max block up something, to try to give him a clean pocket, and he takes off for a gain of 6 or 7 or 8. All those plays are just so massive, even though in the moment it just seems like another 1st and 10 down, and 2nd and 3, great. But when you stack them all up together, it's winning football, and that's why he's winning games and leading us to wins.
Kevin, you gave Jalen Redmond a yesterday. Obviously, he stood out to you. But when was the first time he started to pop in your eyes?
Oh, there's a reason why he made our team. It was early. He always, I think the cool thing about Jalen is he always showed some unique things as a rusher, an interior rusher with some twitch and kind of what he had done previously in the other league he was in. And it was a great job. I think Griggs was the first one to kind of bring his name up. And then as he went through camp, you started to see a little bit more power and ability to be rooted in the run game, but also use that athleticism to get on edges. And he's a perfect fit for our scheme with the way we move those guys up front, kind of taking gaps and things like that. So he just, sometimes with those game balls, it's just as I'm standing there, I wanted to make sure, Jonathan Gennard's getting a game ball tomorrow. Shocker, we're not going to probably video it and put it out for everybody to see, but he's going to get one tomorrow and I should have probably given him one yesterday just from his game-changing effort and the way he just left it all out there. But in regards to Jalen, I just thought it just felt him. Sometimes as a head coach, you're just feeling impactful plays and you start feeling guys' energy and juice and just highlighting. It was really cool, though, to hear the reaction of the other D linemen when we did that.
Jordan, we were talking about Justin a lot. Jordan Addison seems like he doesn't get too caught up in any one thing, and he's pretty easy going and trying to move with him. I don't know what he's like, receivers likes that. So, you see that? Because he doesn't seem like he has many bad days in terms of production, non-production, all those things. No, I think he's just learned over time that his ops are going to come, and it's one of those things that he knows he's got to be ready when they do come, and they can come in bunches, especially when we start getting into a rhythm as an offense, and people are trying to either take Justin away, or whether it's TJ's ops that come up or Jordan's ops, or maybe it's, making those guys, we do have plays where Justin is not listed as number 1 in the progression. We have quite a few of them, actually, and a lot of times it just comes down to those ops and winning, getting separation, and Sam's going to give you the ball. And it's simple as that. We're building, we have a ton of confidence in really anybody that we send out as an eligible right now. I have a ton of confidence. Johnny Munt catching some of these keepers and getting 18 yards on a catch and run. Josh Oliver, his impact has been huge, and that's, with TJ back now, hopefully get J.O. back in the mix with Johnny, and I think Nick Muse came in and gave us some physicality that really showed up in some limited snaps that he played. So you can tell I'm confident in our whole group, and the last guy to really highlight is I think Cam Robinson played his best game as a Viking yesterday, and that was working through what he did, and having really a drinking through the fire hose mentality of game plans kind of stacking on him. It seemed like he had played with a quieted mind and really knew what to do, and his athleticism showed up on the perimeter a few times, really physical, great usage of his hands in pass pro. So that was a huge part of why we were able to sustain, especially late in the game when you kind of go to a little bit more of a drop back mode. I think he was huge at that left tackle spot, along with B.O. once again. Playing as well as anybody in football at the right tackle spot.
Time for 2 more questions, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Oh, that's it. I thought they were going to ask 2 more questions. We'll have all of our reaction to all of the head coach of the soon-to-be big game world champion Minnesota Vikings news conference action. On the other side of the break, heading into the break, Tennessee wants to, we like to call it Wild Today.
Yeah, this is Wild Today, brought to you by Jim Beam, the official bourbon of the Minnesota Wild. Jared Spurgeon scored 2 goals in the Wild's 3-2 win over the Blackhawks on Friday, then decided to add another one on Saturday.
Eric Sinek at the end of his shift, banks it ahead. Kaprizov stepping past trouble. He's got Spurgeon coming late. Kaprizov in, floated one free. Spurgeon scores! Jared Spurgeon wins it in overtime! 1 minute in. A beautiful pass from Kaprizov. Spurgeon lasered it upstairs. And the Wild beat the Predators 3-2 here at home.
Yeah, Joe Donnell on the call. The Wild, thanks to that Jared Spurgeon overtime winner, beat the Predators 3-2 Saturday night at the X. Wild have won 3 in a row, now have the best record in the National Hockey League. Before the Nashville game, the Wild made a big trade, sending defenseman Damon Hunt, a first-round pick, and 3rd and 4th-round picks to Columbus for defenseman David Juracek and a 5th-round pick. Juracek did practice with the Wild this morning. Wild are back in action tomorrow night when they host the Vancouver Canucks. That was Wild Today, brought to you by Jim Beam, a crowd pleaser since 1795. KFAN and the Minnesota Vikings will be live from Shields at Eden Prairie tomorrow for our annual Toys for Tots broadcast presented by Unreal. We'll be collecting donations for Toys for Tots, 5:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m., and we need your help. You'll have the chance to enter to win great Vikings prizes, all while seeing your favorite shows live. Be sure to join us at Shields in Eden Prairie, benefiting Toys for Tots. More at KFAN.com, keyword toys.
And Tennessee, I don't think I need to remind you, regardless of the cause, the charitable cause that the fan gets behind, the Common Man program and its listeners have a reputation of really rising to the occasion. So, drop your unwrapped toy for every girl and boy, anytime you get the opportunity to do it, whether it's during the morning show, whether it's during the Paul Allen Project, whether it's bumper to bumper or the program, make sure you drop it off. And we do appreciate the support from the Tough Love Covenant, as we like to call it, also the Commonwealth. Head coach of the soon-to-be big game world champion Minnesota Vikings, his day after the game news conference. I loved how and I just love this. He had to let people know, just in case you weren't paying attention, how poised he is during those critical moments of a game. And he did it was funny, he wanted to compliment the other guys, my having confidence in them, allows me to have the poise that I do. He said something that I love that. I love people that blow their own horn because you know what? If he doesn't, who will? Right? I don't think I've heard anybody talk about his poise during critical moments of the game. And maybe that was a little bit of a jab at your Eberflusses and your Gannons, because I think Gannon was in way over his head yesterday we've already talked about it a couple of times. The other thing I will
say, I had a moment a couple segments ago where I was struggling to find the right words. Mm-hmm. And just kind of having the confidence in you being with me, supporting me, I felt like I had the poise to get through that situation.
And you did. And I have a lot of confidence in myself. I'm poised. I'm polished. No way, that's Barrero. He's poised, polished, and professional. I'm unprepared, uninformed, and unapologetic about it. The other thing, there was another one that was even better that I liked.
Until I interrupted you?
Yeah, but that's okay. No, it's all right because it was, can you give me the end? I know what it was. I think he was taking a jab at maybe Dan Gamble Campbell. Because remember, said, look, we don't feel a need, I'm paraphrasing, but we don't feel a need to video and record our game balls that we give to people and put them out there on social. Isn't that what he said? Did you
Dan Campbell? I did not see that.
No.
KOC?
KOC said that. We don't feel a need to, right? You heard him say that, right? Because did you hear him say that or not?
I heard him talking about Gernard and getting him a game ball.
Yeah, but what he said before, but I wish we could play it back because he said, we don't really feel a need to post those out there, show them out there. He said something to that effect. And Detroit does it all the time. I mean, if you go, because I'll generally watch both KOC and Dan Campbell's locker room thing where they do the old, guys, it was a great game. That's what professional teams do. You dig down deep, you find a way to win. Win on three. 1, 2, 3, win. So Detroit, they give 2 or 3 game balls, and they always, put the video and the audio out. And he said, we don't really feel a need to do that.
Well, that doesn't make sense because they do it every game.
Do they?
Yes. Oh. So that's why I didn't hear the first part you were talking about. But when he was talking about Grenard and we didn't give him a game ball, we'll give him a game ball the next day. But yeah, after every Vikings win.
That's what I thought. I thought they all did that.
Yes.
Because he made it sound like they didn't do it. Maybe I misunderstood what he said. I scratch everything I just talked about. Can we start the segment over? Anyway. Well, not what he says. Huh?
He says the wrong things all the time.
What did he say? What did he say?
He wasn't taking a shot at Campbell. Do you not listen?
No, I didn't say. It sounded like he was taking a shot at any coach because he said.
No, he said we didn't have the camera rolling because they did have the camera rolling for 3 game balls. You forgot to give one to Grenard. So they're going to give it to him tomorrow. You just won't see it on camera because he didn't do it yesterday.
I see. Okay. It sounded like he was cheap shotting other clubs. We don't. No,
it sounds like you were making your lunch and weren't listening. That's what it sounds like.
I was eating my lunch. I'd already finished my lunch by then.
What'd you have?
I did that during 534. I had leftover taco hot dish. My wife made for a pizza.
I like tacos.
Yeah, and then you know what else we had? She makes this sausage and pepper and rice hot dish too that we made.
You know what's underrated?
What's that? A gal that can rattle the pots.
Correct.
All right, take everything back. I thought the coach was cheap shotting other teams. Like we don't need it. We don't need to do that. But he is poised. I know I heard that right.
He's poised, polished, and professional.
That's exactly what he is. I got all sorts of things. I do want to talk wild. Okay, want to talk more Vikings. I got to talk about the game and the aftermath and see what you think, Tenneby. There were 3 other games where pretty much the exact same. If you didn't see the end of the Ohio State University versus the school up north. The school up north tried to plant their flag inside the Ohio State logo, and the police had to actually use pepper spray.
Yeah.
It happened in not 1, not 2, but 3 other games as well. So we'll get to all of that and so much more. Other side of the break, Common Man program here on The Fan.